Why don't we get started? GM, everybody. On this end, sent an announcement yesterday in the Discord about a couple outstanding proposals. So we shared BIP 34, BIP 35, and BOP 3 in the Discord a couple weeks ago for folks to discuss, and those are now up and live for voting and end next Wednesday or so. So would encourage everyone to read the proposals, vote for or abstain accordingly, and continue to discuss in the channels. In addition, also published a blog post about the different timelines for the different stages of the Mayflower update. So I feel like that'll be helpful to just center everybody as far as when things are happening. So whenever anyone hits us with a win Basin, feel free to forward that link their way. Otherwise, before those proposals end, just spending some of my time working on updating some things like the white paper and the almanac and the like, and after that we'll move on to the next one in terms of Silo v3. That's the long and short of it on my end. Red Beans, do you want to talk about what's going on in design world?
Yeah, definitely. Hey everyone. Still working on the Wells UX or the Basin UX. The creative direction is coming together. The concept and the direction are now sort of set and sort of starting to work on the details now. So currently I'm sort of on the third iteration of UI components, layout, site architecture, all that stuff. And now that the creative direction is there, hoping to have the components and pages finished by the next DAO meeting. And then after that, we'll start working on sort of the detailed animations. And I'm really excited about where the site is going and excited to show everyone. So that's pretty much all that's been going on in my world. So if anyone has questions, happy to chat, happy to answer them. But that's it for me. Thanks, guy.
Amazing. One other thing I forgot to mention, this was in my announcement, was that in the event that BIP 35 passes, stockholders will be able to delegate their votes to other farmers. And so in that light, we opened up a forum under the governance section of the Discord where folks can fill out an application, share their address, and talk about why they hope other stockholders delegate to them. So I know it's only been a day and there's a handful of questions there, but something to start thinking about if that's something you're considering applying for. There's one other proposal that was up that I didn't mention. Beansprout Proposal 11. Sync, I don't know if you wanted to talk about that briefly. I also think it's also already at quorum, possibly, but we'll give you, a chance to talk about it if you'd like, but no pressure.
Hey, sure. Thanks, Guy. Yeah, the SP11's up. The vote ends on Sunday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that, give it a read, and feel free to chime in the discussion thread and ask any questions. Thanks so much.
Sweet. Chad, anything you want to go over as far as engineering is concerned?
Hey guys, nothing that hasn't been covered at a high level by sort of talking about the timelines, but more or less just steaming forward here. Excited to have the Sunrise Improvements BIP now live, so that'll be a huge step. We're working on wrapping up the UI updates for that, so those will be complete ahead of the BIP being pushed, and we'll ship everything, assuming the BIP passes next week. And beyond that, just continuing down the road to Wells and Silo v3. So lots of great work happening there, and honestly starting to think a little bit farther down the road about what's next and what to go build. So I think we'll have a lot of interesting conversations to have over the next couple of months about what's next for Beanstalk beyond all the things we've been talking about this quarter. And yeah, just feeling pretty excited about where things are heading. So hopefully that's everybody else feels the same. That's all I got though.
Maybe to briefly talk about what happens next after Mayflower is in the short to medium term, we're likely going to. So Tractor was initially developed, but hasn't been code reviewed or audited in the last couple of months. So that's likely next on the docket. And once that is audited and deployed, likely working on a few different markets for Beanstalk native assets. Think, next iteration of the pod market, I think BIP29 pushed Pod Market V2, but didn't have an interface at the time, so farmers really haven't had the chance to take advantage of that. But the Pod Market V2 has kind of served as the inspiration for what a generalized version like Tractor could be. So I think trading pods, being able to trade deposits, and ordering pods on the pod market with deposits, things like that. And as far as larger Beanstalk upgrades go, like the gauge system and on-chain governance, given that those are the design of those is really only starting now in earnest, those are likely to be several months out at this point as far as deployment on-chain. So that's a quick little sneak peek of what's happening next after Mayflower over the coming months. So I think that covers the gist of what we wanted to go over today, but we'll leave the floor open for any questions as far as anything we talked about, discussions people want to start or have. We'll pause here for a minute or so.
In terms of Basin, do we anticipate going to the UI within the Beanstalk link, or is it going to be its own separate kind of website link?
You want to take that, Red Beans?
Yeah, what do you mean by website link? You mean like app.bean.money?
A separate, yeah, something exactly.
Yeah, it's a separate site. So I think as of now, Beanstalk Farms will host the site, but it will be like a separate link, and totally different, UX, totally different site. And I'm happy to give as much or as little information as you want, but the short of it is basically believe we're sort of attempting to, I sort of view the DEX as like a new protocol that, Beanstalk is involved in the development of, but we also want to encourage and incentivize other developers in the DeFi ecosystem to come participate. And so, there will be enough signage for people to understand that Beanstalk developed the architecture and developed what I see as the first serious or real implementation of all of the different components in the wells, like the aquifer, pricing functions, and the pumps. But really trying to go for an open source ecosystem type of feeling, which will be different for sure. So yeah, happy to dig into more or less of that if you have any more questions.
Yeah, I would just say while the most minimal implementation of Basin in the Beanstalk UI could just look like whitelisting the Bean ETH well and supporting swaps on the swap page. The hope is for this to be, something that serves the greater ecosystem as well. And, Beanstalk is hopefully just one of many as far as protocols that benefit from the tech that's getting built. In terms of all the things, that you can read about in the post, like customizable fees, multi-block MEV resistant oracles, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll definitely want to be, talking with folks like Scribe in the coming weeks as far as how to approach that from a getting the word out perspective and making sure the messaging is clear.
Does that more or less answer your question?
Yeah, no, that definitely did. And I guess I just agree with Guy's point. I feel like getting messaging out there is gonna be pretty important. It would be kind of cool. I mean, I don't know if this can happen side by side or who would actually end up doing this, but honestly, if we can just talk to other protocols and see if they can make their own wells and shift some liquidity, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's the goal. I think at this point the tech is there, the interface will be there, and so I think it is sort of we should really get started with thinking about how to get the word out, and hopefully the Scribe guys can help us all out there.
Definitely. Well, just to make sure everyone's on the same page, for folks who have read Publius's Worthless Tech article, they talk a lot about how market making on chain is generally unprofitable, and that's one of the reasons where if you fix that, then you can remove the fee, the needless trading fee. But Basin V1, the current implementation that's being audited and will be deployed, in a month and a half or so, does not solve that problem. And so the main reason that you'd expect a particular well to attract any liquidity is if there's some sort of like protocol native incentivization. So in the case of Beanstalk, that looks like, you know, whitelisting the asset in the silo, but it's unlikely that wells that are not whitelisted attract any meaningful amount of liquidity in the near term. So just something to keep in mind. But definitely opportunities that, you know, you're referring to as far as, you know, whitelisting various bean pairs and things like that. And all of this will become much, much more simple after we have a gauge system in place.
Yeah, and if anyone has suggestions or any just input on who specifically we might want to see and reach out to from our side, we can put together a list and we'll be talking internally here in this week, finishing up this week and next week. But yeah, we'll look to start making some moves there and start getting communications with different protocols.
Awesome. Anyone got anything else? Alrighty, thanks everyone. Just a reminder to check out the proposals and the delegate applications if you're interested in applying. See you next week.
Thank you.